On the original 9/11 in 2001, I had been doing housework, and I always watched the Today Show in the mornings, but I'd be in and out of the room doing stuff around the house. I was a housewife at the time. And I walked back in the room and I saw that New York was on fire. Essentially, part of what I knew is New York was on fire. And then I saw a building fall. And they started showing footage of where the planes had hit, that had, one of the planes at least had hit. And I was just like, what the fuck's happening? And suddenly I began to feel suffocated and overcome with the sense of evil and grief and fear and everything. I couldn't get my head around what was happening. It was just this overwhelming feeling, and being an empath or having the gift of discernment, whatever you want to call it, you feel things on world levels. And this is not about me. I'm not making it about me. So don't get me wrong here. And I remember that night, I'd been on a really strict diet, and that night I just didn't care anymore, and ate pizza and went to the pool at my apartment and was just kind of in a daze. And my husband was asking what was wrong with me, and I was like, the world has changed. It's never going to be the same. The next day I ended up in the hospital for a week because my body rebelled, and literally just all kinds of weird crap happened. I literally suddenly had about 4 different gastrointestinal disorders that I had not had. One I had, but the rest of them had not been a previous thing. And it was not the first time that something extremely emotionally stressful had happened to me, even though that didn't technically happen to me, that landed me with a major medical problem. When I feel extreme stress and grief, I will overnight have some kind of major medical thing happen, and that is because I take it in so much. And I was right. The world had changed. It was never going to be the same, and it never has been. And I'm glad we're further and further from it. No, the world changed that day because suddenly the country that everybody thought was impossible to touch, like on our soil, had been attacked, and all these stories were coming out, and all this stuff went down, and everything just changed. Everything just changed. And like I said, I was right. The world was never going to be the same. The world has never been the same. And I'm just glad we get further and further away from it. Because the further we get from it, the more we heal. And I don't think that the people that died would want us to dwell on it either. Because that would mean that the people who did it won. Screw them. You know what I mean? They say that there were a lot of things like stuff measuring stuff, don't ask me, on the day of 9/11 because of the emotional anguish of the public. There were things that kind of, the way things are measured in the world. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I know what I've seen several times. That things, it registered, the emotional repercussions of that day were registered on some kind of devices. Don't ask me. And I felt that day. I felt that it was too much. I couldn't breathe. And I felt just evil. I felt death. It was horrible. I wasn't even there, and it shook me. in a way that I have never been the same. Because something inside me kind of died that day. And I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that something was irretrievably broken or changed within me, and I wasn't even there. I didn't even experience anything firsthand. I didn't lose anybody. So it was just a psychic kind of wave that went across the world. And I was in a waking coma afterwards. There are children in the world that didn't even exist then, you know? Heck, there are children in the world that are learning to drive. They didn't even exist then. And my life is completely different. I was a housewife and a church member, and now I'm divorced, and I still have my faith, but I don't go to church anymore. And it polarized a lot of people from each other. So it's been 16 years. Have we healed? Are we better?